Fort Worth area, but a lot of places are dealing with this freezing rain as well. We come back to Jason McLaughlin. He's joining us once again by phone. We're seeing the images. Jason, thanks so much for everything that you've shared with us this morning. Again, we're checking in with you. What is the latest now since we've last talked?
Since we last talked, we haven't had any further precipitation that's happened here. The roadways have actually dried out pretty good. Up here, as the real significant icing is headed down south towards central Texas, out to the Metroplex. They're working on it. There's just a caravan of tow trucks right now, and they're lined up and they're working kind of one by one, backing up and just trying to undo this mess in reverse order of kind of how it happened. And that's kind of where we are.
And Jason, have you been able to talk to anyone that was involved in the accident at all?
You know, the few people that I was up to, that I was around, they really were really just at that shaken state of panic whenever I first got here and went up to the scene. You know, a couple, I was like, hey, were we all in one of these cars? They were like, yeah, I was right here, my wife was right next to me, and, you know, one of those cars was just badly demolished. They were just really shook up. And that was kind of the scene of the people that were there. And it was just one of those things you don't want to get too close and get too personal, and kind of give people their space as well, and make sure that you're not interfering. But you know, just the couple of people, just seeing their reactions on their face, just completely like, wow, I cannot believe that this just happened type of thing. So just a lot of shock, and as you can tell from the video, I mean, this is just kind of like I said it earlier, picture a movie scene, and kind of they pick the worst thing you could imagine on a freeway, and this is much worse than what that would be. So again, we'll just continue to watch, and hopefully they can continue to work through this traffic. I'm sure it's going to take at least a day or two to get through all of the vehicles.
And Jason, have you been able to see people leaving from the scene? I know that the authorities have been trying to, you know, get people out of their cars and get them to a more safe place. Have you seen how that's been progressing?
They have Fort Worth Fire Department. They have their own vehicles that they're able to take, you know, that were involved in the accident, and they brought them down to a local location. And at that location is where they're able to get food. They're able to have coffee, stay warm until they're able to get some sort of transportation to get them from the scene.
And Jason, you mentioned just a few minutes ago when we first started talking that you haven't had any precipitation in that area since. Now, what was your experience on the roads getting up to where this accident occurred? Did you run into any other dangerous icy conditions on any other roads trying to get to this accident?
You know, I was out this morning. I started my trek around 2 a.m., kind of passing through this exact location roughly around 3:30 or so, and kind of just working the traffic back and forth, just watching to see how roads would deteriorate. We didn't have very heavy precipitation at all. We're talking less than 1/10 of an inch of ice. And that ice, I'm sorry, give me 1 second, you got helicopters flying overhead. The ice that was there, typically it happened brief whenever we had moments of sleet, or a brief moment of rain, and we would get a quick amount of icing on that. But the road crews had, you know, they put out the brine and treated the roadways, and it really it worked well on the interstate. Heading further south, there were more icing issues. There was a little bit more of the rain way of precipitation that way towards the south side of Fort Worth, heading over towards Dallas, Arlington, along I-20. But then briefly, there were a couple of heavier showers that formed in this location, and they moved across, and with an air temperature of 25, and you know, that brine, as we talked about, it doesn't stay forever, so it starts to wear down. Whenever it was put down yesterday, and it has to be retreated. Well, this whole accident occurred over roughly, I'd say, a quarter to half-mile stretch of interstate that was an overpass, and that's exactly where the initial accident, the initial slippage on the ice took place. And from there, like we talked about, there's no match for ice, no matter how thick or how thin it is.
Oh yeah, ice is just absolutely deadly and treacherous. And Jason, you're a storm tracker, so you have been out in inclement conditions of all types when it comes to weather. Does this bring to mind any other situation you've ever seen in terms of dealing with icy roads like this? I know